happens in seconds. Your baby is red-faced, crying hard, twisting their body, refusing the pacifier, refusing the bottle, refusing everyone's best effort. One person rocks them. Nothing. Another tries bouncing. Worse. Someone says they're overtired. Someone else says they're getting spoiled. And then you take them back. Same room, same baby, same exhaustion. But within moments, their body drops. The cry changes. The fists loosen. The breathing slows. It can feel so sudden it's almost eerie, like your arms contain some secret ingredient nobody else has. Most people see that moment and reach for the obvious explanation. Your baby is clingy or dramatic, or they've picked a favorite. Maybe you've held them too much. Maybe they've learned that if they escalate, they get you. That explanation feels reasonable because, on the surface, it looks personal. But the deeper explanation is far more interesting than preference, and far more important than a parenting habit. Very often when a baby only calms with you, what you're seeing is not manipulation and not random temperament. You're watching a developing nervous system recognize the specific human body it has learned to organize itself around. In other words, your baby is not just choosing you. Your baby is using you. Not in the selfish sense, in the biological sense. They are using your voice, your smell, your temperature, your movement, your timing, your familiar rhythm to do something they still cannot do well alone, which has come back from overload. That is why the shift can look so dramatic. Because to an infant, the difference between one caregiver and another is not always emotional in the way adults mean it. It can be physiological, and once you see that, one of the most misunderstood baby behaviors starts to look almost profound. The story begins earlier than most people realize. Long before your baby understood words, they were already learning your patterns. Decades of infant research, including classic studies by Anthony DeCasper and William Pfeiffer, showed that newborns prefer their mother's voice over a stranger's voice. Not because they understand language, but because the voice is already familiar. It has been there, filtered through the body, present in rhythm and vibration before birth. That's important because babies don't enter the world as blank slates. They arrive with memories of sensation, the voice they heard, the heartbeat-like pulse, the internal rocking of being carried. Later, after birth, and they begin adding new layers to that map. Your scent, the way your chest feels, the speed of your sway, the sound of your breathing when you're calm. Research on early scent recognition has found that newborns can distinguish their own mother's smell very quickly. That means comfort is not just visual, it's chemical, it's rhythmic, it's embodied. So when your baby settles with you faster than with someone else, sometimes the first layer of the answer is simple. You are familiar in a way other people are not. But familiarity alone still doesn't explain the intensity of it. It doesn't explain why a baby can go from frantic to soft the moment they hit one particular shoulder. For that, we have to go deeper. One of the biggest mistakes adults make is assuming babies calm down the way older children or adults calm down. And as if they have a small inner voice saying, "Let me take a breath and regulate myself." They don't. The parts of the brain that help with self-control, emotional regulation, and perspective are still very immature. A baby does not have a fully functioning internal system for managing distress. In the early months especially, regulation is mostly external before it becomes internal. This is why developmental psychologists talk about co-regulation. Co-regulation means a calmer nervous system helps organize a less mature one. The baby is not failing to self-soothe. The baby is doing what the human infant brain is designed to do, which is recruit help. That cry is not a performance. It is a biological strategy. And this is where one researcher gives us a phrase so powerful it changes how you see the whole scene. Psychiatrist Myron Hofer described caregivers as hidden regulators of an infant's physiology. What he meant was extraordinary. A caregiver is not just emotionally meaningful to a baby. A caregiver helps regulate core bodily systems, heart rate, stress response, temperature, sleep patterns, arousal. To a baby, your presence is not only comforting, your presence is regulatory. That's why being passed from person to person can sometimes make a distressed baby worse, not better. From the outside, it looks like fussiness. But from the inside, the baby may be receiving a series of unfamiliar sensory patterns while already overwhelmed. Different smell, different pressure, different movement, different timing, different voice, different chest resonance. Adults think, but everyone is trying. The baby's nervous system thinks, I cannot find the pattern I know, and then you arrive and suddenly the pattern is back. The body recognizes home. This is also why the phrase "they just want to be held" can be true and still not go deep enough. It's not only that your baby wants contact, it's that your baby wants a very specific kind of contact from a very specific source, because that source has become linked with safety through repetition. Thousands of tiny moments build that link. How you pick them up when they startle, how quickly you respond when their cry changes, how your chest feels during a contact nap, the exact bounce of your walk, the tiny pause before your voice turns softer. Even your tension level matters, because babies are astonishing readers of state, long before they understand meaning. A baby doesn't need a philosophical concept of trust. They build trust through pattern detection, and the infant brain is brilliant at pattern detection. That's one reason this behavior can be so emotionally loaded for adults. If the baby calms only with you, it can make you feel powerful, trapped, chosen, guilty, exhausted, or secretly proud. If the baby doesn't calm with you or calms more easily with your partner, it can sting in a place that feels embarrassingly primal. But the baby is usually not making a statement about your worth. The baby is revealing which regulation pattern is most established in their nervous system. That is a very different thing. Attachment research helps us understand the emotional layer of this. And John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth helped show that babies are not attached in a vague, sentimental way. They use attachment figures as a safe haven under stress, and later, as a secure base from which to explore. So, when your baby is overwhelmed and reaches a point where only one person will do, that is not automatically a sign that something has gone wrong. Very often, it is the attachment system doing exactly what it is supposed to do. The baby's internal alarm goes off. The baby seeks the person linked most strongly with safety. Contact with that person reduces alarm. Exploration becomes possible again. That's not spoiled behavior. That's elegant design. And here's the reframe that changes everything. Your baby is not calming with you because they are weak or needy in some excessive way. Your baby is calming with you because they have learned where regulation lives. That is an astonishing developmental achievement. It means their brain has already begun building a map of who helps when the world gets too big. And there's an even deeper layer. Babies don't just react to comfort, they predict it. The brain is constantly asking, often below awareness, what happens next? Predictability is calming because it reduces uncertainty, and uncertainty is expensive for the nervous system. If your baby has learned over and over that your voice comes with relief, your arms come with settling, your face comes with responsiveness, then your presence doesn't merely soothe after the fact. It starts soothing in anticipation. Your baby's body begins calming because it expects calming. That's why two loving adults can produce very different results. Not because one loves more, but because one has become more deeply associated with successful relief. Eddie Tronick's still face experiment showed just how early babies expect responsive emotional connection. When a caregiver's face suddenly becomes blank and unresponsive, babies react fast. They try to re-engage. They become distressed. And the experiment is famous because it reveals something profound. Infants are not passive. They are actively monitoring human response, looking for contingency, timing, and repair. So when a baby only calms with one caregiver, part of what may be happening is not just familiarity, but precision. The baby has learned the exact choreography of being soothed by this person. The right voice, the right delay, the right pressure, the right motion. It is less like preferring one song over another. It is more like recognizing the only melody your nervous system knows how to land on. This also explains something that causes a lot of quiet pain in families. One parent or grandparent or partner starts to become the only one who can calm the baby, and everyone else begins backing away. They hand the baby over faster. They stop trying. And they tell themselves, maybe even jokingly, well, the baby just doesn't like me. But that interpretation can accidentally strengthen the pattern, because babies build calming maps through repetition. If one caregiver does almost all the regulation, that caregiver's cues become even more neurologically loaded, while other caregivers get fewer chances to become familiar enough to work. So if your baby settles with you and not your partner, that does not mean your partner has failed some invisible test. It may simply mean your baby has had more successful repetitions with your specific soothing pattern. The nervous system is not delivering a verdict on love. It is showing its learning history. And that learning history can change, not instantly, not through force, but through repeated responsive experience. That matters. Because otherwise a beautiful truth can turn into a burden. Yes, it is moving that your baby knows you so deeply, but it should also reassure you that this is a process, not a prophecy. Babies can build safety with more than one person. They just do it through consistency, not wishes. There's also a developmental twist that catches many parents off guard. Sometimes a baby who used to tolerate many arms suddenly becomes much more selective. They only want you at bedtime. They cry when someone else takes them. They cling in a way they didn't a month earlier. Adults often read this as regression. But around the second half of the first year, many babies become more aware of familiar versus unfamiliar people. Their memory improves. Their attachment system becomes more specific. Stranger wariness can increase, and their preferences sharpen because their mental world is becoming more detailed. So a baby becoming more selective is not always a sign that they are getting worse. Sometimes it means their brain is getting better at distinguishing where safety has been reliably found. Again, what looks dramatic on the surface can actually be developmental progress. Of course, none of this means every crying episode is purely about attachment or regulation. Babies also cry because they're hungry, uncomfortable, overstimulated, sick, in pain, gassy, or exhausted beyond reason. And if a baby becomes suddenly hard to comfort in a way that feels unusual, or seems distressed even in the arms that normally calm them, that shift is worth paying attention to. But most of the time, the hauntingly specific calm down with you moment is not a mystery in the scary sense. It's a clue that your baby's body is already learning one of the deepest lessons in human development. I can fall apart, and another person can help bring me back. That lesson is much bigger than getting through tonight's crying spell, because what begins as co-regulation becomes the foundation for self-regulation. The baby borrows your calm before they can generate enough of their own. Over time, repeated experiences of being soothed help build the brain systems that make calming possible from the inside. This is one of the most underappreciated things about early caregiving. You are not just ending a cry. You are teaching a nervous system what recovery feels like. You are teaching the body that distress is survivable, that intensity can peak and come down, that connection changes state, that help exists. And those lessons do not stay trapped in infancy. They become part of how a person eventually handles frustration, uncertainty, fear, separation, and stress. So the next time your baby seems impossible for everyone else, and then softens the second you take them, try not to hear only the obvious story. Not I'm the favorite, not I've spoiled them, not even just they love me. Listen for the deeper one. This little human, with a brain still under construction, has built a living map of safety. And somehow, through repetition so ordinary you may barely notice it, your voice, your smell, your timing, your body became part of that map. That is why the relief can look so immediate. Your baby is not simply calming down. Your baby is recognizing the place where their scattered signals start to make sense again. You are not just the person holding them. In that moment, you are the bridge between chaos and regulation. The outside system their inside system is leaning on. The familiar pattern that tells the body, you can come back now. And maybe that is the hidden reason this behavior hits parents so hard. Because it reveals something we all sense. Even as adults, the first human nervous system we learn from is not our own. We become ourselves through repeated experiences of being steadied by someone else. That process starts here, in the small scenes people dismiss as clinginess, in the dark room, on the shoulder, in the rocking, in the impossible cry that suddenly isn't impossible anymore. Ordinary moment, massive meaning. So if your baby has ever done this, if they've ever cried with everyone else and then melted the second they got back to one particular person, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Those tiny details are often where the deepest psychology is hiding. And if you want more explanations like this, where everyday baby behavior opens a window into the developing mind, subscribe.